Eventually, I hope to make some games myself, but again, one of these projects that maybe one day.
I mean, nowadays we have AI software where you can ask it to code up a game and then you can ask it to fix it. And
Yes, I know. I work in IT, so I'm very well aware of AI and its shortcomings. And unfortunately, there's quite a few shortcomings. Um, uh, Essentially, because of what the architecture it's based on is trying to mimic a human brain, it has the same problems as a human brain, and it makes similar mistakes. Like, oh, I think I remember this is the way it is, and they'll tell you, and even though it's completely wrong, it matches the pattern, but it's basically lied to you by accident. So that happens a lot.
yeah.
Especially when it doesn't actually know the answer. So
Might be different in specific like coding AIs because they're using their own language rather than trying to imitate the human's brain of typing stuff out.
no. This is the fundamental misunderstanding rather, that people have about AI. They think of it as some kind of amazing thing that gets taught and can learn, and has its own language. If you place it in its own language, it'll somehow become smarter. No. The fundamental problem is the way it's designed. It is designed on neural networks. Neural networks are basically what we have in our head.
That's the name.
That's the way they fire off. So because it's based on neural networks, when you train it, you're setting up a whole bunch of what they call weights. What this does is it creates a pattern recognition system for whatever you trained it for. So if you train it for let's say a simple game where a figurine walks, if you train it long enough, you can get this neural network to understand how to move each part of that fake body you have on the screen to get it motion forward. It might not look like walking though. It might be like on all fours, like a weird spider kind of thing, because it has figured out that if it throws itself, it can get towards its target. And then you'll have to give it extra things that it has to do to be able to actually get it to do what you want it to do. The reason why I explain that is because essentially these neural networks that get trained and they do pattern recognition. They get a pattern, they spit out an answer. There's no thought. It's just the answer for this pattern. So if you say dog, it might come back with, fluffy companion. Or it might come back with, depending on chance a lot of the time, because it grabs the top results, and then for a language model that like chatbots do, it'll grab the top results and it'll just pick one, usually with some kind of randomness to it, because all the results are quite correct. And then it'll come back with like that, fluffy companion or Dalmatian or some kind of breed of a dog, just back at you, because it matches the pattern. You said dog, I say some kind of dog. But almost never will it say cat, almost never will it say animal, which are also correct answers if you just say dog. Because a dog is an animal, and a dog is an animal like a cat is, and they're both on 4 legs and they're both fluffy. So it does direct, this is the match of the pattern. It doesn't do more steps unless you have code around it. I've been having to use AI recently for my work a little bit, and I've learned a lot about how it works. And yeah, I've got a personal project for myself as well, where I'm going to try and build one. Early stages, didn't get very far yet, but it's got problems, some serious problems for it to actually be what people are speaking about nowadays. They're talking about, AGI, which is, general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, AGI, Those networks that are AGI are just huge neural networks, and they're still just doing pattern matching. Oh, but it can think then. No, they tend to just feed it back into itself in a loop to try and get an answer that's more correct, which mimics thinking, but it's still just pattern matching. Now, there is a group of people in AI that believe that our intelligence is only pattern matching. if that's the case, then I don't think we'd be able to tackle the difficult problems and be able to apply solutions from one field to a different field that has very little to do with it. Like the way that we learned how to make airplanes was guys were watching birds fly. And then they built something to mimic the same wings and the same airflow around the wing to be able to build an airplane. That is not a direct one-to-one. That is a completely separate, bird watching. You're just watching it do stuff. And then to apply that to aerodynamics and aircraft is completely... They're two separate ideas, right? You have to take a few steps and have a goal to reach that to actually get there. Now, that's not to say AI can't be incredibly useful and incredibly smart-like. And to appear thinking, a lot of the time when you're talking to AI people who know that it doesn't think, they'll say that it thinks only because it's easier to describe it that way, honestly. AI is still incredibly powerful, but it's only as clever and intelligent as what it's been taught on. And if you grab the results from an AI and feed it to an AI, it'll be like a copy of a copy. You'll get worse and worse results until the point where it's completely unusable. So yeah, AI fakes intelligence reasonably well at the moment, but it's not really intelligent. A perfect example of this is asking it to use a code base that it wasn't trained for. So one of the code bases that I have to work with regularly is called Progress. It's a 4th level language. That's not going to mean much to you, but essentially...
Because I've never heard of that one, like there's Python, C++.
Yeah, I use Python all the time. I've used C++ back in my uni days. I still use it nowadays for my own coding projects sometimes. For prototyping, I use Python now because it's just easier to code in because it's got duck typing and you don't have to worry so much about things. But yeah, no, Progress is a proprietary language, which means that it's not open to public to be used anywhere, as opposed to C++ and Python and things like that, which are open source languages. So all the open source languages you'll have heard of because companies just build their product on that because it's open source, they don't have to pay for it. Like I said before, businesses don't usually start by heavy investment. They usually start with something that's cheap and easy to get off the ground. They start getting some revenue. They start seeing, actually people are interested in this thing that I'm trying to sell them. And then they usually convert over to using other solutions if they're useful. So that's why open source is basically everywhere now, because it's free, essentially. That being said, it's not fully free because, like I said, everything has consequences. So if you go open source, there are consequences with that. But there's just trade-offs. So yeah. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Progress is one of the languages I use, and if you get AI to try and use it, it has no idea. Now, if you grab an AI and grab all the Progress code you've ever found, and maybe grab a couple of different companies' Progress code, which would be highly illegal, but if you did do that, and you shove it all into the AI, then potentially you could train it to guess at what the next word is, because that's all that these large language models do. They just guess the next word, and they keep guessing the next word until they finish the sentence. That's all they do. So it could potentially guess out a program properly that would work in Progress easily. But right now, it'll give you things like, this particular function exists in Progress. It doesn't. I look at it and I go, I know it doesn't exist, but it still tells me that it exists. And then when you tell it, it doesn't exist, can you fix your code? It might fix it, or it might just remove the part that wasn't working and say, look, it's fixed, even though the code doesn't actually do what it was meant to do in the first place. So that's why I said, it's just a pattern matching recognition system. Can it be good with some smarts around it? Of course. Currently, I'm trying to grab a free large language model. I'm using Llama 3. It's not great. but it doesn't matter. I just need something that works. And I'm now looking at using prompts, so the things that I say to it at the start of the conversation, to be able to teach it how to use a tool. And then when it replies with using this tool, I have my own code that would fire off the tool that it's trying to use. And that's basically how all your advanced Claude AI does stuff when it comes to using tools. It's literally just prompts go in, prompts come out. Oh, this prompt matches it trying to use a tool. Then it uses the tool. That's how they code it. And then if you wonder, oh, how do they make sure that the AI doesn't swear and do stuff like that, or get upset at a person who's swearing? They literally have prompts saying, this person just got upset at you, or this person has just used a swear word, or this person has just used this. And then it has pattern matching to say, oh, wait, that's outside the use policy of me. You can't do that, and end the conversation. But you see how it's all glued together with this idea of you feed a prompt comes back.
Yeah.
Do you think that's intelligence? No, that's just statistical matching. Now, not to say it's a really great tool. It's an amazing tool. It's a tool that's probably going to put out a lot of junior devs out of work, and has already put out a lot of designers out of work already. So it will continue doing that. But for you to use it properly and not have headaches where your product that the AI built malfunctions and you can't fix it because the AI doesn't know how to fix it either, because that can happen. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure you place in guardrails.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to say, look, no, you have to pass this test. Your code has to run, compile before I accept your code. So then it will use that tool, funnily enough, to run its own code and goes, oh, the code runs. Now I can give you this as a solution, and things like that. You have to have a lot of these guardrails in place to actually get AI to get the statistical result that you're looking for, and not one that just breaks later down the line because it gave you a different result with different assumptions, completely ignoring what it gave you the first time, that would break your product. So as junior devs, yeah, AI is great as a junior dev. You tell it, I need this thing. And I've done that multiple times now. That's what I'm using it for at the moment. So I'd say, well, I'm trying to do this thing. Give me this in Python. And it will go, kaplonk, this is what I've got in Python. Will the code work? Not necessarily. There's no guarantee it'll work at all. So you run it, and you see where it's broken, and then you fix that. Like we would with a junior dev. A junior dev doesn't write good code. They write you code that might work or might fall apart on you. And then usually you either go back to the junior dev, but the problem with AI, going back to it, is you have to make sure you have the rest of the context of the conversation to make sure that it knows, it has memory of what was said before, right? So that it can pattern match properly to go, oh, okay, let me fix it. And then you're again rolling the dice. It's a junior dev. It'll come back with something. Whether it works or not, that's for you to decide. So as a junior dev, yeah, 100% AI is very useful. Even language models that are not really well trained on coding will give you a logical idea of where to begin with. And it's very useful. Yeah, it once gave me a recursive loop that almost worked straight away. And that was nice. And for things that a lot of people have solved hundreds of times before, it will give you something that works usually.
Yeah.
But for things that it hasn't been trained on, or are kind of side weird problems or difficult things to build, it will almost always fail you. But that's not to say it won't give you a good starting point. So yeah, that's kind of like when I was building the tooling for the AI, I literally asked the AI, can you build me the prompts to build a tool for AI? It didn't give me anything that useful, but I did get the structure of it, and then I went, oh, the structure's not too bad. And I used that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most of the search engines will give you AI results now too at the top as well, if you haven't noticed.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So, because sometimes they give you something useful.
Yeah. And I guess if it's useful, sometimes it saves you a bit of time.
Oh, this recursive loop stuff saved me 5 hours of work. And, you know, that's a significant amount of money for the company.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, companies are shifting towards using AI because it will save them a lot of money, a lot of money. And when it comes to companies, it's all about investing as this. This is the sad part about capitalism. This is investing the smallest amount possible to get the best financial result as possible. So if you don't align that with what's good for people, then sometimes you get bad results.
Yeah. Because that reminds me, like, similarly, we used AI for Adobe Illustrator to make, like, the client's kind of ugly Excel sheet for all of their kind of products and stuff, and like random PNG images of pictures in the Excel document, and then used it to basically make a neater, like, nicer template in Adobe Illustrator. And then on top of that, we then just edited everything to make it look nicer for the client. Like,
yeah.
As
I said before, as a tool, it's amazing because it gives you something. And if you grab a junior dev and you tell him, give me something, he'll give you something. If you grab someone with 0 skills, they won't give you anything. So yeah, it's a really good tool. But yeah, definitely you need to have guardrails. You need to guide it. You need to grab its output and then edit it if needed. Yeah, even some of the most powerful AI, they're still in that way. And it's incredibly wasteful. AI is incredibly wasteful. So this crappy AI model that I have, it takes up 3 gigs of RAM to run. 3 gigs of RAM. Most programs run at smaller amounts, much smaller amounts, but it needs 3 gigs of RAM for its model. And that's a crappy model.
In like the browser as well.
No. This was run on my computer on the command line. But it needs 3 gigs of RAM when it's being used. So it's huge, and it's not even that good, right? When it comes to Google's AI, ChatGPT and stuff like that, the online ones, they have huge data centers worth of computing behind it. For what? For you to find out where to eat tomorrow. It's not a good use of power, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to be profitable? Yes, if they can convert that sheer usability to profit, sure. But I think you'll find that in the next probably 5-10 years, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. Like, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money as we find what AI is actually good for. It's like with the dot-com bubble. So a lot of people lost a lot of money back then too. So similar thing will happen with AI, most definitely. Will it take over the world? Well, who knows? Maybe if someone actually changes the architecture it's built on, we might have a problem like that. At this point in time, we'll have a bigger problem of incompetence than AI taking over the world. If you want me to go into that.
Yeah.
I can go into that if you want, but yeah, I think incompetence is going to be the biggest problem we're going to have facing us in the near future, not AI taking over the world.
Too much reliance on it as well.
That's what I mean by incompetence. So when you have the next generation coming up, if you rely on AI too much, you don't actually build the skills you need. You build the skills to talk to the AI, sure, but you don't build the skills you need.
You also shrink your brain as well. At least studies and stuff like that.
I don't think it won't shrink your brain. Intelligence can't be removed.
Well, like, you get worse memory because you don't use it.
Yes. Your skills become dormant. That's the way I like to call it. I'm sure there's some psychological, way of calling it, but your skills become dormant. It's like if you haven't ridden a bike for 20 years, you'd be a bit wary when you get on a bike. You're like, I'm not so sure about this. And then your muscle memory starts to kick in, your brain remembers all the things and pulls it back out, right? Like when I speak in Russian, it's terrible. It's terrible. But I can get back to the level of Russian I had when I was 7 years old, probably in about a week or two of speaking with Russian people. It doesn't take long to get back to where you were because it's dormant. It's still in there. There's patterns are still there, but it's dormant. It's dormant. It's waiting to wake up when it's needed. And I suspect a lot of stuff when it comes to life has these sort of dormant things that spring back into action when they're needed, because it's a very good technique, survival technique. But yeah, so it doesn't shrink your brain, it just makes your memory not use the skill. So if you don't use it, the brain goes, well, this is not useful right now. I'll shove it in the recesses of my mind somewhere.
Up the attic.
Yeah, up the attic, where it can gather dust and become harder to remember over time, while I use these other skills that I seem to use all the time, like scrolling my feed and watching my 30 seconds clips and commenting. So no, the bigger danger isn't AI reliance when it comes to shrinking your brain. It is reels. My advice to my kids has been pretty simple. If you want to do social media and reels, fine, do it. But understand that it's highly addictive. And once you start doing it, let's say most of the day, your attention span gets destroyed. And that's to do with the way our brains are wired at what I'd like to call the monkey brain. It's the primordial brain part of the mind. I'm not a psychologist, so again, check your facts, blah, 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 But the way we're wired, with the way that reels work, causes you to always seek a dopamine hit from the reel of a funny video or whatever. And you might not even be having fun because of so much dopamine from the previous watches. But because your brain's seeking for the next thing, you just keep going. And an hour turns into 2 hours, 2 hours turns into 3 hours. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
You do that enough times, well, does your mind need to have attention or be able to focus? What is it doing all day? Not focusing, that's for sure. And because of that, it causes you to lose the ability to focus, not lose it fully, again, it goes dormant. But until you weed yourself off of those social reels, you're stuck. When you allow things like memory, focus, thinking, these sorts of skills to go dormant, it's hard to get them back because usually you need the thinking and focus to actually get the skills back in the first place. It's not impossible, but it's hard. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would say use AI if you want, go ahead. But you're not going to learn how to learn using AI. You're going to learn how to rely on AI. And when it gives you the wrong result, you use the wrong result, and then you'll go, oh, but I was told it's the right result. Looking all confused. Because you don't know what to do when something goes wrong.
Nani desu ka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this? That's why I said there's going to be an incompetence crisis. Maybe not in your generation, maybe the generation after yours, maybe it'll be my Serena's generation, or maybe a little bit later, maybe the generation after hers. But there will be a crisis where everyone's been using AI for so long that people are going to forget how to do basic things. They're going to forget how to write code, start a computer, How do I change a battery on a phone? I mean, yeah, they hide the phone batteries now, but that's not the point. My point is simple things, they'll go like, I don't know how to do that. The AI's just done it for me all the time.
Or they just ask the AI and then...
AI, how do I do this? And the AI gives them the wrong instructions because now it's being taught on humans that don't know anything. Because again, it'll still be keep getting taught because that's how you keep it, up to date.
It'll probably be making the websites and all the info on the internet as well. It'll be like dead internet theory.
And then what ends up happening is it learns crap. And once it starts learning crap...
It teaches crap as well.
It teaches crap and it'll fall apart, meaning that it won't teach you things that actually work anymore. And then humans don't know how to do it because they're relying on AI. And AI doesn't know how to do it because it's been learning from humans that don't know how to do it. What ends up happening? Everyone's incompetent. That's why I said that we're heading towards an incompetence crisis. I think that it might be avoided. I think it's also a huge opportunity for parents that have children that they want them to succeed. Because during the incompetence crisis, people who are hooked on using AI and hooked on doing social media and like games and not being able to have any skills, they're not going to be able to do anything in life. They're not going to be able to be employable or anything.
Yeah.
Then when systems need to be run by something other than AI, because AI is starting to fail, then who do they turn to? They turn to the people who actually have skills. And what are those people going to be? The kids that actually got taught skills by their parents, because the parents are like, this is going to eventually be useful to you. I will teach you these skills because they are going to help you eventually in the future.
And those parents were the ones that had parents before them who taught them the skills down. And those parents had parents.
Usually it's the parents that understand life in a better way. I don't like saying they understand life because that makes me sound like elitist, but no, it's more they've had enough life experience and they've taken away from that life experience the lessons that actually help them understand that these skills, they're paid for by work, right? Not by money, by work, by you physically sitting down and learning them. This is why people who go to universities right now are not as skilled as you think they are, most of the time. Because the people going to universities, I went to university, so this includes me. When I came out, you have book knowledge, sure, if you listened. But if you just crammed your brain to be able to pass that test, you'll be very good at saying the right answer, not actually doing the right answer, if that makes sense. So you end up with these people who are like, well, I paid good money. That money is giving me knowledge. That money gave you the opportunity to get knowledge. It didn't give you knowledge, right? And now with the internet around, you've got opportunity to get knowledge whenever you want. What are you waiting for, right? So, like a written invitation. Like, I didn't get a written invitation. I had 3 kids and a wife that needed feeding. That's what my education was. And then go out there and earn money. That's kind of when I started properly learning about life. So, and I was one of the more well-off ones because, my wife was clever and she had savings and I came from a reasonably well-off family and things like that, right? So I was one of the ones who had that extra cushioning to allow me to learn those lessons quickly and with stress, but without as much stress as a person who doesn't have money. Do you see what I mean by like same crap being thrown at everybody, but the people with those things beforehand can utilize what they have to allow them to get over these challenges of learning? That's the biggest difference. But yes, so parents who understand these things and got the right lessons from life when they got smacked in the head by it will be the ones that will equip their kids with the right lessons as well. But that's not everybody.
But also, it also goes down to if they want to equip their kids with the lesson, because they might choose not to or be distracted or have some other priority.
But that's what I mean by the right lessons, right? So right now in most Western countries, we have birth crisis. People are just not having kids. You ask different sectors of society, they'll say for different reasons, right? You ask men, they're like, there's no good women around. You ask women, all men are like, want to just use us and we're oppressed for many years. All of this is just salad dressing. It's just a pretty thing around to just explain something away so that they don't have to consider the problem further. So, yeah, people just not having kids. Solution? Go out, get married, have kids. Oh, but it costs money. Yeah, I got married before I had the money to deal with the costs. My wife did have money. And I did have, support. So we did find a way to manage to make it work. But the drive to make money will either come from your ambition, and if you're like me and you didn't have any ambition, then it'll come from necessity. So place yourself in a position where you have the necessity. So get a girlfriend and plan to marry her. Maybe don't marry her straight away because you can't afford to marry her. Okay, fine. But plan to marry her and have a kid. Oh, but having kids without marrying is not great. I'm like, no, it isn't. Nor is living. a lot of the time, right? A lot of the
sure.
time you're doing hard work to try and get to the point where you can actually have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So have a kid. That will force you to get a better job, to maybe work 2 jobs. And then the tiredness and not being able to enjoy your wife and kid will cause you to get a better job, right? And to be more discerning about how much you get paid for, and so on and so forth. And that starts your journey down the path of actually, being able to earn enough money for a family. So, that's at least the way I did it. And I think that's the way that it kind of has to be done. I know that sounds really bad, but I think that's just the way it has to be done. Because there's a million and one things you can say about not wanting to have kids, right? It's expensive. They take up all your time. They do for a while. Like they can be annoying. They can drive you insane. After all that hard effort, they might not even appreciate you. All completely true. Completely true points to make. But it doesn't change the fact that if you don't have kids and nobody else has kids, then we don't have a civilization anymore. Like, that's just the fact, right? And you're like, oh, there's some people who want to have kids. Like, I want to have kids. I want to have kids and be a husband. Yeah, but most of those are sitting carefully waiting, going, oh, I want my kids to have a happy future. The world's a bad place, or it's too expensive, things like that. And they're just waiting. Well, if those people don't have kids, then why, like, nobody else will. So, so if you want to have kids and you want to be married, find someone that you really like. Don't worry too much about having fun. You're going to have plenty of fun. Like, throughout your life, you're going to have plenty of fun. Don't worry too much about that. Like, I still play computer games every day. I still find like half an hour or whatever to play my computer games, enjoy myself. Even when wife and kids are around. Right now they're in Japan, but even when their wife and kids are around, I still found time. You will find time for things you enjoy, right? If you enjoy going out drinking with your friends, yeah, just make sure you communicate properly with your wife so you don't lose your wife. But you can still do it, right? It's not impossible. So, main thing is just find someone that you want to marry, and then double check that they actually want to marry you. And then get married, have kids.
Yeah.
And don't forget, there are social networks around you. You're not just an individual. You're a person, a island that's connected to many other islands. Many other individuals that are living their lives. And if you can find and have enough of these connections, sometimes they can actually really pull through for you when you need someone to, babysit or whatever, right? So, yeah. Yeah, don't stop. Like, we're already heading towards a crisis,
A few different ones, actually, like wars and everything as well.
Birth crisis is the biggest problem.
Probably, yeah.
Not probably. I've listened to a bunch of historians, and whenever there has been a retraction in the population, the societies almost always break down. There's basically no historical examples of where they survived a population crisis. So that's not to say, oh, humans are done for. No, humans will survive, but we'll go through hell. Do we want to go through hell? No. I rather like having computers and be able to, play my games and have my kids grow up and, then hopefully watch their grandchildren grow up and have good food, not worry about where you're going to eat, whether you're going to have shelter, whether you're going to get eaten by something. I rather like our modern life, So, yeah, population is the biggest problem. The biggest of everything else is population. If you don't stabilize it or slow it down to the point where we can survive a reduction in the population, then our society is done for. It's It's just what it is.
And that's the whole world as a whole.
No, Western societies. Western societies. There are many, many other societies that are not as free around the world who do not have our same ideas about how we should treat children and women, who prey on the weak, who don't show forgiveness for mistakes, who will more than likely take over from us if our societies should fail. And they'll be in control. And all this morality of, we should treat people nicely and stuff will go out the window, because it'll be kill or be killed. And then you'll have hell on earth for, I don't know, a couple of 100 years, maybe 1,000 years. I mean, how long did it take us to get to the point where we decided that, kids should be treated with some dignity? That idea has only been around for 1,000 years, just so you know. Before that, yeah, your kid will take care over from you, but your kid was your kid, your property. So he did what you told him. If he didn't, he'd get the back of the hand. Like, that's just the way the world worked before, right? So that's what we'll return to. And then, everyone will be, fighting for their particular tribe or family against all the other tribes and family. And you can forget about individualism. Forget about women's rights, freedom for kids to be safe on the streets. You can forget about all that. Hell, if a woman remarried, the kids that she had with the previous marriage would probably die. Like, it's just the way the world used to work.
Yeah, without society, yeah.
Even with societies, but the societies that don't have the same values. So that's why I said, we've got really good societies with very good values. We need to do what little part we can to make sure that we lead it towards a better future, not a worse future. And we can stop that by having some kids when you can, right? And when I mean when you can, I mean when you're physically able and you have enough support that'll help out with taking care of them until you are financially able, right? Finances shouldn't get in the way. They shouldn't even be a question in your head. If you want to have a kid, you have someone you love, you know that you two aren't going to fall apart under the pressure. Like when you're in the same house, you're both working, jobs that are making you hate life. That kind of thing can break marriages quite quickly. So you got to make sure you stress test the marriage, right? While you're still in a relationship, and make sure the other person knows you're both stress testing it. Living in close quarters, living on cheap food, both working your butt off on 2 jobs each, really stress test this thing. And then when you're, 19 or whatever, and you stress tested it, and you go, you know what, we still don't want to kill each other, so I think we're good. We actually still like each other, we still want to be together. Okay, we're good. Anything that happens, we know that we can work this thing out with conversation and communication and keep this marriage solid. Then you go, okay, let's have kids, and then when we can afford it, we'll get married, and so on and so forth. Then you proceed. But, I didn't marry my wife until we lived together for a while. I was working to try and provide as best as I could. I couldn't provide much because of minimum wage. So, so we weren't in an official relationship for a long time. That's why I said, stress test it first. And then, after it's been stress tested and, yes, definitely this person forever and ever, and you take that seriously, you don't just go, oh, she's cute. You take it seriously, then, yeah, go have kids. Now, if you're religious, obviously follow your religion, because that's going to make you feel guilty, obviously, right? But as you can tell, I'm not that religious. So for me, yeah, just go have kids. You're going to be together forever. You've already said that to each other. You've promised it. And a promise is as good as a vow. And if you're a person who breaks promises, my God, you're not going to be able to do anything, really. I mean, you can probably do well in the current society because, as long as you get ahead. That's what gets you ahead. Like people lie and get ahead right now. So, but that won't work very well in in a relationship that you want to last a lifetime. So many lifetimes now, because people live for a long time. But yeah. So find a person who is one person that can be the right person. Make sure she feels the same way. Make sure you tell each other the truth as much as possible. Like even avoiding white lies when possible. Some are okay, but like you gotta be truthful, honestly. And then just have kids and get married and divvy out the responsibilities of the marriage quickly and easily.